What's up everyone, Mark here with Promevo TV, and this is the soon-to-be released HP Chromebook X360 11G1EE. Now it may be hard to say, but it's really easy to use. Let's go ahead and talk about HP's foray into the convertible Chromebook game. The HP Chromebook X360 11G1EE, which I am seriously only going to refer to as the X360 from here on out, is a new Chromebook designed for the world of education for both teachers and students alike. But before I dive into the review, I want to remind you that Promevo is a premier Google partner focusing solely on our customers' Google lives. We here at Promevo want to engage with as many people as possible to share all of our offerings from G Suite to Chrome devices to software solutions like our very own G Panel and G Scholar to help build and maintain your Google Life needs. Okay, back to HP. All right, you know the drill. Let's go ahead and get that spec sheet out of the way. Get ready to pause. Okay, let's take it from the top. Let's talk display. The display on this is an 11.6-inch HD, and that's 1366 by 768 touchscreen with Corning's Gorilla Glass 3, hoping to ensure that this device is rugged enough to handle the strains of being used by young students and teachers alike. The display is sharp, it's vibrant, it's very bright. It's got a fairly large bezel around the screen, but I would assume that that's there to provide additional protection in the event of an accidental drop. It's not necessarily visually pleasing, but I definitely think it's definitely a situation of function over form, and that's the right choice here. Now, I know a lot of you have reached out to me expressing disappointment in the lacking 1080p display on this. While I would love more resolution, honestly, on a smaller device like this, it's really kind of hard to tell the difference. And we're speaking really to an education device here, so there's also a question of like, is that a necessary addition? I also have to wonder if really a marginal upgrade in the resolution would really be worth a more dramatic reduction in battery life and so on. Let's talk power. This is blazing on an Intel Celeron N3450, and it has plenty of power. Back that processor up with 8 GB of RAM, which to my knowledge is actually a higher amount of RAM available than in most of its competition, and you're good to go. I think that this will be instrumental in providing longevity for the device, as most previous education-focused devices that I've gotten to work with, and I don't want to name names, but I'm sure you can guess who I mean when I say budget, education-minded Chromebooks, typically float around the 2 GB of RAM to 4 GB range. Not that 4 is necessarily bad or anything, but I'd assume that this is a measure to keep costs down. So it's kind of interesting to me to see a company like HP take a more premium approach to an education device. The Octane score, as we saw before, is pretty comparable, if not a little bit higher than other devices in its price range too. Regardless, you know the drill. It hasn't choked on multiple tabs of me running videos, documents, sheets, slides, you name it. Let's talk battery life. HP quotes this at 10 hours of battery life, and with my test, I got just about 9 hours and 50 minutes, give or take a few minutes there. With lower screen brightness settings, which I personally prefer about 40 to 50%, like somewhere in that range, that's what I do, I got even more time out of the device. So I think this is going to be plenty to power through a full day of classes without any sort of issue there, unless grade school is suddenly longer than 10 hours now. Let's talk input devices. The keyboard is really awesome. It's springy, it feels really durable. Honestly, the whole device feels really rugged, so I guess that the keyboard is obviously just in line with the rest of the device. The touchpad is pretty large here and offers great palm rejection when typing. That said, I did want to bring this up. I noticed that the touchpad itself feels a little slick, like not really like greasy or weird or anything like that, but now that I'm like doing reviews on these all the time, you start to notice little things like that, and it just seems a little bit smoother than the other trackpads I've played with recently. Again, I don't mean this as a bad thing or anything, just something I wanted to note to you. I'm also happy to note, though, that the touchscreen is very responsive and works surprisingly well when touching small icons on screen. I should mention here that this device is Google Play Store ready, which means that it doesn't have access as of the time of making this video to the Google Play Store, but will soon have access to that store, which is great news for you kids who don't want to pay attention in class. I think the coolest new feature for input is the first of its kind world-facing full HD camera on the keyboard. At first, I'm sure that you did the same thing that I did, and you saw this and you're like, why would you put a camera on the keyboard? But when you actually put this in the tablet mode, you'll understand its purpose a little bit better, just like I did. When it's in tablet mode, the form factor of the device and the placement of the camera is very similar to that of your smartphone or a tablet, which makes this a really easy tablet replacement. You could use it like a microscope in the classroom, for example. It's placed there and not somewhere else on the device for two reasons. One, so it's similar to the use of a smartphone or tablet, as I've just mentioned, and two, for privacy reasons. See, normally it's blocked by your hand when you're in laptop mode, when you're typing. I do agree with its placement for the most part, although part of me worries a little bit that over long periods of use, sweat, grease, grime, whatever's on your hands or on your wrists will eventually leach into the camera lens as it sits right where you place your arm when typing, potentially blurring imagery when shooting. I'm sure it could be mostly wiped away, but as this is an education device, most schools are probably hoping these will stick around for years. So definitely over years, I could really see this being a potentially weird issue to deal with. That said, I think the feature is very cool, but personally, I'm kind of unsure of its applications outside of using it either just as a regular camera or maybe like a microscope in the science lab, as I mentioned earlier. Consider that your invite to post comments suggesting other ways to use it in this video. Let's talk form factor. You all know the story on these convertible devices by now. They offer multiple different form factors so that you can use the device however it works best for you. This is obviously a great idea for education because you want to, play to everybody's learning style. So of course, the hinge itself is very sturdy, but it obviously moves easily under direct pressure. The best part of this device is that unlike its competition, the exterior of the actual Chromebook has a textured surface. You'll remember if you've watched my previous reviews that I've complained before about the lack of stability when in tent mode for a lot of these convertibles. But since this HP is textured, it actually doesn't move around anywhere near as easily as the other ones have before. I think that's a point for HP easily. Overall, the look of the device is sleek, it's got a nice deep gray color, and most importantly, it actually looks a lot more premium than a lot of the other EDU-themed devices. Often, education devices have to ride this line between low price and high quality, and I'd say in this case, I think HP leaned a little bit more towards the premium than its competition. However, that means it also has a higher price tag as it starts at $350. All right, let's talk ports. HP's done a really smart thing here and mirrored the ports on each side. And this was done so that if you were going to go ahead and put the device into a charging card or something like that, you won't have to mess around with cables. That way it's easily charged from either side. I think that's a really smart idea. So we've got matching USB 3.1 and USB Type-C ports on each side. There's also a micro SD card slot on the one side and a headphone jack. And good news for all of you, because I always forget to tell you in the review and then just answer it in the comments. The micro SD card slot does allow you to have the card sit flush inside the device, so it won't be sticking out, anything like that. Good news there. Overall, I think it's safe to say that I'm pretty pleased with this device. I seriously can't believe they let that one stay in the script. Honestly, all kidding aside, it's a pretty sweet device so far. It feels really sturdy. It's really rugged enough to take a bit of a beating while still being more powerful than I expected, actually. I'm really curious to see how it stacks up against the other education convertible Chromebooks due this year. My review model also did not include the HP EMR stylus, and I would love to get my hands on that to try and compare it to the other available options out there. Alright, obviously we're a business, and since I'm trying to travel around the world a lot this year, and that requires paychecks, I ask that if you are an educator, a place of education, a nonprofit organization, a government organization, or a business, that you please purchase all of your Google-related things from us here at Promevo. If you click this little eye right above me here, it'll give you a quick link to shop.promevo.com where you can get your devices, management licenses, accessories, and much, much more. As always, like, share, and subscribe to our videos, and leave me a comment to let me know what you think or what you want to see more of from us. I'll see you next time.